partly how you conclude what is in the center is based on your practice. It's like eating yogically. What helps you practice? And you can know very easily, just by getting up in the morning and getting on your mat, when you feel good and when you don't feel good. And so for us, what we found is that whole grains, cooked whole grains, are in the center. And brown rice is the most center. And then for variety, there's other grains like millet, quinoa, chapatis made from stone ground wheat, cream of rice. So we have a loose goal or idea that comes from macrobiotics that 50% of our diet should come from whole grains. And so it's pretty challenging to get that if you really pay attention, but that's what we go for, and notice that those complex carbohydrates are really the best fuel, and that's when we feel the best.
And when our practice is the strongest.
Yeah. And so then, when we widen out then, we widen out into like root vegetables and cooked, meaning carrots, rutabaga, turnip, daikon radish, burdock root,
lotus root, and then cabbages, broccoli, cauliflower. All of these things are right there, just wider than the whole grains. And then the protein sources such as tempeh, tofu, seitan, beans, legumes, those are also right there in that little bit wider circle. Then we use vegetables that flavor things like onions, bell peppers, tomatoes, cooked tomatoes.
Yeah, slow cooked tomatoes, and spices. What else is in there? And
if you liked eggplant would be in there.
Right. And those, partly it's based on just how the vegetables are grown, how watery they are. So they're based on macrobiotic principles. From there, then you see it's partly based on variety and interest. Like if you try it, it's really challenging to eat in a narrow circle continuously over days and months. It's not an easy thing to do. And so in order to make it sustainable, you have to widen out and keep returning to the center, but widen out. And so for us, widening out means using small amounts of either vegan cheese or goat cheese in our cooking, or possibly adding ready-made type of things like vegan chorizo, or just stuff that sort of gives you little variety, little wideness. Like we'll make spaghetti that's vegan, it's really tasty, and even though that has tomatoes which are very acidic, we still will do it, and just remembering the center but still going out, and then also eating out. You can eat out somewhat healthily. You make good choices when you eat out, and so that's kind of widening in the circle. And then to really go out, what I call it, bad foods, fast food, desserts, meat, fried foods, alcohol, drugs, highly processed foods like frozen foods and things like that. It's like those are way out there. And Starbucks, anything that you can get at Starbucks is pretty much way out there. And so if you're going there every morning for your coffee and your breakfast and these things, then it's really hard on your system and on your yoga practice. And so the whole thing of these circles is to stay as close to the center as is reasonably possible, to be aware of your food choices and to make changes accordingly, and see what foods don't belong there, but that you don't necessarily, it's like you're never going to eat ice cream again, or in holidays when you eat too much, you have the big meal with all kinds of stuff. It's not like you're not going to do that, but you're just aware of where it fits, and you're staying more to the center. And that center also has to do with timings, meaning that you don't eat at night. That eating at night is going away from center. And partly like fasting. And
like meaning allowing several hours between meals going by, and especially between the last meal of the day and your practice in the morning, that those type of fasts are also bringing you towards center. Just want to talk about the source, like where my idea of the center comes from, and where my idea of the wideness comes, like the foods that don't belong in that center. And so for me, it comes from macrobiotic principles, from Ayurvedic principles, from yogic principles of ahimsa, and what Guruji taught, because he had a lot to say about food, they all align. The Ayurvedic, the macrobiotics, the yoga, and what Guruji taught, which is that it's a vegetarian diet with grains at the center. And so...
you said that great thing to me the other day was, I can't remember which book, maybe the Shiva Samhita?
The Garrigues Samhita, which is that rice is the very first food that's listed in the list of foods that should be in a yogic diet. And then also, you want to look at it from a level of prana, which is like how much prana is in the food itself. And so you'll see that when we go to the farmer's market, the food, that it's when it's locally grown and it's in season, that's when the prana is there, the life force. And then it's also the prana that's in the food, but it's how you prepare it and the resulting feeling of when you take it in, and so that the prana that you feel, the life force within you, and you get clear that the food you eat will really influence your energy, your ability to focus, your ability to have stamina and power in your asana practice. Because it is like the last frontier in a lot of ways. So if you give up alcohol, drugs, tobacco, and you give up so many things, that the food becomes a source of comfort. And so you can get attached to bad foods that aren't serving you, because you don't have anything else to fall back on. And so it's really important that you see that comfort is a false sense of comfort. If those foods are really holding you back and bringing you down, then that isn't comforting. So that yoga, your practice, and being healthy is what's really comforting, and what really gives you that power and well-being that you're seeking.